Yo, what's good everybody? Welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Logan Delgado. I am a proud father, a proud husband, and I lost a total of 70 pounds utilizing the ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting. And I've now dedicated my life to help you remind yourself that it's never too late to become what you might have been. So I want to talk about the latest news, and what that is obviously Ozempic. If you've been living under a rock, then you probably haven't heard of it. Everybody's taking it. Everybody wants it, and the drug companies cannot make it fast enough because people want it. Now, I will say this. First off, I'm not against GLP-1s. If you want to take Ozempic, you want to take Wegovy for weight loss, by all means, do what you want, because it actually is helping a lot of people, and I'm all for that. What I want to talk about is the latest news, and what that is they are testing Ozempic for kids. So are you ready to give your 6-year-old child a weight loss drug? So I made a short video about this on TikTok, but I want to go ahead and make a longer version YouTube video. So we got the drug maker of Ozempic and Wegovy are starting to do tests on children for a weaker version of Ozempic for children as young as 6 years old. So in reference for me, guys, I have a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old. I couldn't imagine giving Lo a weight loss drug in a couple of months, because she's gonna turn 6 years old in November, and it's currently November. So in about a month and a half, let's just say it did get approved, and then in a month and a half, give her a weight loss drug. I couldn't imagine doing that. But before we dive into this conversation, guys, I want to thank the sponsors of this video, and the sponsors of this video is Ketone IQ. Can you see it right there? So if you guys have been following me on Instagram, you know I've tried to cut down on coffee. I've tried to cut down on energy drinks, guys. I am a full-blown addict when it comes to caffeine and energy drinks. There was a time in my life, guys, no kidding, I was drinking 3 energy drinks a day along with my coffee first thing in the morning. And that is just not good. And so I know I needed to cut it, but I still need that energy, guys. I still need that mental focus. I still need that sharpness. But how do I get that when I'm absolutely going cold turkey on all my energy drinks and caffeine drinks? Well, Ketone IQ is what helps me, guys, because this right here is gonna give me the instant energy, the instant focus that I need to get me through the day, to get me through my Zoom meetings, and to get me through my workouts. The benefits of Ketone IQ is that it's non-GMO, no sugar, which you guys know I absolutely love that. Say no to sugar, and it's got no caffeine. So if you're like me and you're looking to kick that caffeine addiction, but you still need that mental focus and that sharpness, then you need to check out Ketone IQ, guys, right here. I'll have a link in the description below. So I want to thank Ketone IQ for sponsoring this video. Now let's get into this topic. So one thing I want to talk about is, why do I think they're doing this, right? Obviously we know. Cha-ching, it's all about the money. But at the end of the day, it is helping people. But we do have a huge problem here in America, which is why these drugs are so popular, right? So obesity in the United States affects over 100 million adults, okay? That's 41.9% of the population. And it affects 14.7 million children here in America, which roughly is 19.7% of the population. So you can see obesity rates are just going higher. They're just skyrocketing, and especially for children. And so I do see it, right? I do see the problem. You know, there's nothing but snacks. There's nothing but processed foods. What they feed our kids at school lunch is absolutely horrible. And more kids just want to, you know, scroll on TikTok all day, play on their Nintendo Switch. Not really like the old days, like, you know, like this old head right here used to get on his bike and just ride around the neighborhood all day, then come back when it got dark. And that's what we did as a childhood. So we stayed active. Kids nowadays are not doing that, and they're eating a lot worse. So as you can see from these numbers, they're just skyrocketing, and approximately 147 billion is going to be spent on healthcare costs. Okay, 147 billion every year on healthcare costs. So obesity, type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, you name it. And so I want to give my personal opinion, my personal thoughts, since I do have a child that is about to be 6 years old here in a couple of weeks. Number one question, would I put my child on a weight loss drug? Let's just say if my daughter was overweight. Let's just say she was overweight and she's struggling with, you know, she's borderline obese. Would I put my child on this weight loss drug? My absolute gut reaction is No. And this is the reason why. Because, like I said earlier, I believe in fixing the root cause. I think you need to take a step back, and this goes for adults as well. Take a step back. Why do you need this drug? Obviously, you would say, well, I'm obese, I have type 2 diabetes. Okay, well, why do you have those things? You just don't wake up one day and become obese. You just don't wake up one day and become a type 2 diabetic. It takes time, right? But the reason why it takes time is because of your life decisions, the things that you're feeding yourself, the things that you're doing, the things that you're not doing, right? You're not exercising. You're constantly eating fast food. You're constantly starting your mornings off with a sweet and sugary breakfast like cereal and toast and a bagel. And for grown-ups, you're always going to Starbucks and you're getting your frappuccinos and lattes, and it's just packed with sugar. You're Dunkin' Donuts. And I get it. Trust me, guys. Like, I am very conscious about my health. Okay, obviously. But even my kids want donuts. Like, we pass Krispy Kreme and my kids are like, can I get a donut, please, daddy, daddy? And I have this like struggle where I'm like, I know it's not good for you, but I also don't want to be like that dad that's like, no sugar, no this, no that. I want to let my kids be kids, but there has to be a balance. So do I get my kids a donut? You know, I have one child who absolutely loves Starbucks banana bread. Then I have another child who loves Krispy Kreme donuts. Do I get it for them? Yes, I do. But do I do it every single day? No, everything in moderation, right? So you got to take a step back and look at these life decisions that you're doing, especially for adults. What are you doing most of the day? Most adults work at home, they work at an office, and they're just sitting down all day. So they sit down all day, they're not getting their steps in, they're not eating the right foods. Then they get home and they're tired because they're mentally exhausted, so they just want to get on the couch and just watch Netflix, watch YouTube. And so there's no exercise, there's no resistance training. And you're never going to fix the root causes of your obesity, type 2 diabetes, and insulin resistance. So for me as a parent, I would focus on that for my kids. Since this is a video about Ozempic for kids, or Ozempic potentially being released for kids here in the next couple of months, I would focus on getting my kids active. I think it's a little bit easier for kids since they do have a lot more energy than adults. I mean, I never see kids walk around. They're always hopping, they're skipping, they're running. They don't ever just like walk anywhere like us adults, right? Because they have lots of energy, they're young, and so you can still get to them at a high energy level stage. A lot harder for adults, but you still can do it. So I would focus my kids, getting them in some type of sports, getting them in some type of activities. So one of my daughters loves gymnastics, and then my other daughter's kind of like, she's not really into any activities or anything like that, but she does love to ride her scooter and ride her bike. So can't really get her into any sports. We tried it, she's not really into it, but she loves to ride her bike. She loves to ride her scooter. And so I'm constantly, as a parent, always going with her to the park and walking around the neighborhood, just getting her active. The other daughter, I don't have to worry about. And the daughter who loves gymnastics is all me. She is 100% all her daddy. She's very competitive. She wants to learn stuff. And so I'm gonna try to get her into as much activities as possible. I think that's number one thing to focus on, getting them active, getting them moving. That's gonna help. Also, watching what they eat. So I know for parents who are like, Logan, how do I get my kids to eat meat? How do I get my kids to eat steak? They never want to eat that. They always want to eat junk food and Legos and cereal and bagels and just warm up ramen. So what I started doing is, instead of like forcing my kids to eat that, I started cooking it in front of them. You don't understand. The smell of a good steak will smell good to anybody. So I start making steak in the kitchen while my kids are in the living room and in the kitchen table doing their homework, and they smell it and they're like, Daddy, what are you making? I'm like, oh, I'm making some steak. Would you like some? Yeah, Dad, let me have some steak. Or I'll make some chicken and they can smell it in the air fryer cooking, and I'll make some rice for them because they love rice. They want it. So now every single day, it's become this common thing, right? Is where I'm making my pre-workout meal, but I always make a little bit more because they're getting home from school. I know they're gonna smell it as soon as they get home. And kids are kind of like already naturally hungry when they get home. And boom, I got them hooked. So now I got my daughters hooked on eating chicken, steak, and rice every day after school, and it's worked. So, but that's how I got my kids to start eating healthier. Now, let's just be realistic. Do my kids still eat cereal sometimes? Absolutely. Do my kids love candy? Yes, unfortunately, I can't help that. They love sugar, but what I can control, everything in moderation. I'm not gonna let them eat that every single day. I'm gonna let them enjoy their ice cream and their donuts, but I wanna try to get them to eat healthy food as much as possible, keeping them active, watching their bedtime, making sure they're drinking enough water. I always tell them, girls, you gotta drink water. You know, they want their apple juices, they want their, you know, their juices in the fridge, but I always tell them, look, if you want your orange juice or your juices, you gotta drink a cup of water first before I give that to them. Those are the biggest reasons why, and I think those are the two main factors when it comes to stopping obesity, reversing type 2 diabetes, and stopping insulin resistance. Focusing on what you're feeding your kids, what you're allowing your kids to eat, and making sure they're staying active. If you can do those two things, you won't need to put your kids on a weight loss drug. Now, like I said in the beginning, I'm not against GLP-1s. I'm not against Ozempic and Wegovy. If you want to put your kids on it, by all means, do it. If it's going to help, I'm sure it's going to help them. But I would highly recommend, while giving them that drug, you incorporate some type of root cause changes, right? Some lifestyle changes, like everything I just said. Watching what you eat, make sure you're drinking enough water, make sure you're doing some exercise. And yes, parents, kids can do resistance training. Now, I'm not telling your kid needs to be a bodybuilder. I'm not saying that your kid needs to go start powerlifting, but your kids can start lifting weights. Like, it's okay. They don't need to be lifting 20-pound weights, but they can lift 2 5-pound weights. It's okay for kids to do resistance training. There is no negative effect. I know there's a huge myth out there that if your kids start training early or start doing resistance training early, it's gonna stunt their growth. And no, that theory got debunked. There is no evidence that you're gonna stunt your kids' growth because they started lifting weights early. Okay, that's just a old wives' tale. That's not true. So if you can do those things, you won't need to take a GLP-1. And if you are gonna take it, add it in with the GLP-1 so then you could eventually get off of it so you don't have to rely on it for the rest of your life. Because I'm telling you guys, your insurances are not gonna want to pay for it for the rest of your life. And if your insurance doesn't cover it, it is expensive, guys. These drugs are $1,200 to $1,800 a month. I'm sorry, but I can't even afford a car payment right now, okay? Like, if anybody wants to take my Tahoe off of me, please take it. But I wanna know what you think. Parents, let me know in the comments. Would you or would you not allow your kids to be on some type of weight loss drug? Anyways, let me know in the comments. Let's get this conversation started.